And in the past years, have you ever read some statistic around, and that's the issue I'm here to talk about, what is the racial diversity in open source? Have you ever read any research on it? So in tech, they're very known. We know that an average of 25% are women, and most of them are white women. Do you know the percentage in open source? So I ask you to kindly do raise your hands or something if you think that goes down to 15%. Maybe 10%? Maybe 3%? Yes, that is about it. In the open source environment, and about a sad percentage of probably 3% are not considered demographically white males from the north part of the world. And that's pretty serious. And you know why that's pretty serious? Because open source is running the world. It is what is driving the technology forward. Oh, that may fix it. Yeah, maybe not. Maybe we change it. We'll try. I'm just talking about, there's just a slide saying the problem. Anyway, you're not missing anything. But why is that an actual problem? It's because, well, if it's a billion money industry is driving the technology forward, and that's not just the technology, it's the software. We're all mediated by software. If that's driving forward and your voice is not there, that means that you will be oppressed by whatever have been decided, not by you, because you were not there to make the decision. So yes, pushing diversity in open source. Thank you! So that's the issue, right? We have highly homogeneous demographical space that are highly focused on technical capabilities, and we value that with almost our hearts because we cannot get rid of that representation of the tech genius. And although we bring that in the community leaderships and inclusion all the time, that is so engraved in our brains that brings serious consequences, both for the technology we're using and for the people running that forward. That, of course, brings a power imbalance, who are the ones making the decisions for us. And so that's the issue, right? And we start, the name of this talk was based on this book. If you haven't read it, highly recommend it. That is just, well, something is wrong. Although we have been advocating for diversity for a long time, something is wrong. And this marvelous human being, Christina Dunbar-Hester, wrote this book after a very serious, deep research. Warning, it's a bit heavy, very academical, but it's an amazing book that looks behind us and saying what the others before us had made and what went right and wrong into advocating for diversity. We're also based a lot in PyLadies in fellowship programs that like, well, they are breaking the gap, but what are they doing that are bringing more diversity into the space? And so those are some of them that you can take a look. And what we have done in PyLadies is, and we have the amazing achievement of once a month, putting an average of 25 women in the same room in the night within 2 hours, sending about 5 pull requests that are merged into core, really big open source projects. That's huge. If you think that 3% are not in the, are the amount of people that are not white male in the open source space, if you put 25 women in 2 hours doing the pull requests and being aware of what open source is, that's major. But that's not magic. And it's not just lucky that we're there. There's a lot of pre-prep work that it has to be done. And this is what I'm actually here to share with you. It's like, how can we start bridging the gap and being the ones making those decisions? And those are the little things that we learn in the little way. And most of this is about the prep work we do before those workshops. First, it is pre before this part, is you guarantee the safeness of your community. And I am using the t-shirt, which you can basically read a Python code saying, please read the code of conduct to make sure we have a safe space. This is the first thing. You have to make sure that the people that goes in, and that's our advantage, for over 5 of probably 7 years now, the community knows they go there for a safe space. If you don't have that, nothing you can do will attract people. But after you have that and people trust the work you do, you have to do the prep work for people who deeply understand the open source. And that means, well, let's start slow. Let's not overwhelm other communities. Some people like Dr. Martin Weston and Dr. Noah Tamir, they are our co-organizers with me, and they are core maintainers of scikit-learn and pandas, which are really big projects in open source. Sometimes they go to a point of forking the repo to make sure the issues, the first-time issues, are separated for the ones in the workshop. Why? Because that will bring that reward of like, yes, I did it. Otherwise, if you're getting stopped in the stall fest and everything's so frustrating, you cannot break the barrier, you can never go after that. So this is quite important. There's a lot of work for the people preparing and organizing this event. And you have to do that and let people see they are really making part and making the difference. The other part is about the support and representation. As I said, fostering this environment is super important. So the pre-work that you do, that you know you can just go there, hop in, share your frustrations, your time, and you have representation of people that you see represented. So even when you depend on core maintainers that are still white male, they probably just speak English, or in the case of Germany, German. The coaches or other contributors have to be a woman in the space. This is quite important. Otherwise, you do always feel this power imbalance and it's very heavy in the room. So this is what we do. Even when Noah or Marin were not core maintainers, they were still in the room coaching the people and being represented as core contributors. The other part is you following up this workshop. That 2 hours is amazing, but it's just the beginning. We all know that the long curve for open source, it's long and very frustrating most of the time. So you have to hold that hand a little longer. Use your communicating channels for it. For us, it's often Slack channel that we create special groups that people can just hop in and ask their questions. Or even having a pre-workshop. Sometimes it's so convoluted, the project so difficult to get started, that we do a pre-workshop to make sure you will understand and will be able to do that merge, that pull request in the workshop itself. That lowers the barrier a lot. So you see, it's not magic, but it is a lot of work. And I kind of got lost on track on time with project, but I think I'm about to end it. Oh, cool. That's it. But that's it. It's not magic at all. And we do have this really successful rate. And this is the takeaways. I do not even need the 3 minutes. You have to first understand why it's important, understand the problem, and being super intentional about bringing the diversity of the space. Why? Because we need that. That was my first statement. We need to fill in the gaps. We need to drive forward our future together. When you know that, you have to know the qualitative work, and we're quite often pushed to have more and more metrics and data. And we see here, we talk about that in every single room. When you talk about communities, having those metrics that the business of people that may sponsor the things you do may not be the ones they want to hear, but you have to find a way to find that qualitative. And I will quote Noah here. It's about that one person that will feel valued and will stay being a contributor for a long time. Although I do have this metric, we have 25 women in the room doing that, really getting together, understanding open source, probably changing their careers. More than 2 people in the community got the new jobs because they became a contributor. But it's not about that, it's about that one person that will become a solid contributor and will doing with that work. And that is why you don't need to care. If you do an event and 3 people showed up, keep on doing it. because maybe one of those three will be the one that will make the whole difference. And the third takeaway for me is take the time to properly do the work. When you go to a room and it's so convoluted that people feel too lost, that will give the push back instead of what you want. You want people to stay, so break it down, small pieces, but think about that. You need to feel that you're empowered and you can do it and you're part of this. One of our focusing more on non-code work. One of our last nights, we offer a game board from Open Culture Foundation that I highly recommend you to download it, that makes you understand why open source is important from a variety of perspectives and how you can contribute from a lot of things that it's not code. Bringing that into those workshops, it's quite important as well to make sure people are valued and are important in the work they do. And that would be about it that I wanted to share. Thank you very much for listening and sharing.